Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the special edition of the Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the desk, as always, Mr. Luther Dupree Jr., Mr. Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. This is a very, very special show. It's our 100th episode, which we're going to talk a little bit more later. We have some very special guests today. And our first very special guest, and we're so honored to have him on the show, is Mr. Mauricio Sulaiman, the president of the World Boxing Council. Mr. Sulaiman, thank you so much for being on the show. We are honored to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's for me a great honor to be in this special episode. 100 is a special number, and you know, life is all about cycles. So this is the beginning of the next 100 episodes because this is a great program indeed.
Thank you so much. Sir. We appreciate it. My first question to you is not a boxing question. I was extremely close with my dad, and he meant the world to me. And I wouldn't be sitting here at this table, and he's had so much impact in my life, and he always will. Tell me about the special relationship with you and your dad. I know there is a special relationship. You mention your dad all the time, which I really appreciate and admire in you. But tell us a little bit about your dad and your relationship with your dad.
Well, my relationship is still very, very solid. I feel my father has never left me. I wake up every morning praying that I will be able to imitate and to do the things he would expect from me. And I go to bed hoping that I did accomplish my wishes for continue the legacy of my father and to continue doing what he taught us. I was very close to my father since I can remember. I was close to him. I was always trying to help him out, to be close to him because he had to travel very, very much during the times where there were no fax, no cell phone, no internet. Forget about social media and everything that we have today. So he had to travel and open the doors by visiting the world and changing the world of boxing.
You know, I've heard you say that about your dad, and I'm the same way. I still talk to my dad and my mom every single day, and I really appreciate you saying that. You know how a lot of fathers sometimes, some want them to be in that business, some do not. Did he want you to be in the boxing business, and especially with the WBC?
No. In fact, I began with him only, just to try to help him get a little bit of work from him. Telephone calls, taking messages, doing a few letters, going with him to events. So entertaining, like public relations, with champions and press and all the sort of things that you do. And I never thought I would become an executive of the WBC. But slowly, I graduated from business to take care of our factory. We still have the family business. It's a factory. So I graduated and I went directly to the company. So my father could have all the time free to dedicate to the World Boxing Council. And at the same time, I was helping him out with some boxing things. And I would go to him and he would say, please go to the company. Just concentrate. Don't forget about boxing. 10 minutes later, hey, please call Don King and see what it's about. So that was every single day. We would fight. But then again, boxing would drag me back to him.
Right.
You know what? Thanks again for coming on. One of the things, I'm glad you're on here, I think sometimes the WBC and just sanctioning bodies as a whole, they get a bad rap. I mean, they say all they do is give belts, but you all do so much more, even as far as helping out retired boxers. Can you just speak a little bit about what a sanctioning body, especially a WBC, does?
Thank you. Yes, the WBC was created in Mexico in 1963 because there was complete lack of union in the world. There was no structure. Mexican boxers would not get opportunities to fight for the title. And the president of the country, he was a former boxer, so he invited the most important boxing authorities California, Nevada, New York, the European Boxing Union, the South American Boxing Federation, Japan, gathered together in Mexico and created the World Boxing Council. But the reason for creating the WBC was to make sure that there was a body that had nothing to do with the business of the sport. Like the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, all those leagues, they control the business. They control the TV rights, sponsorship, they sell the franchises, the teams. So everything is controlled under one umbrella. In boxing, it is not like that. The WBC has nothing to do with the business side. That's what the promoters do. We do the regulation and especially everything that has to do with medical. Mm-hmm. The WBC is about the boxer before, during, and after the championship years, the years of glory. We have amateur program. We have, of course, the administration of championships. But most importantly, we take care of our own. When the fighter has retired, when the lights and the glory days are gone, the WBC is still there to be part of their family and support them in any way we can, and that is worldwide. So the WBC has changed the sport of boxing. All the rules that exist came out from the WBC conventions, from the committees that perform research, and that's why we changed from 15 to 12, the day of the weigh-in, a day before the fight, all the medicals and everything, working together with boxing commissions, with boxing federations, and then putting the standards for the sport. ¿No lo puedes silenciar?
Hey, Mr. Sulaiman, this is Smoking Jim. Number one, it's an honor to finally meet you, sir. Tyson Fury has been a great, great, great champion. Lately, he's been talking about retiring. What is the procedure for the WBC for a vacated belt? Would you have a tournament to fulfill that, or how would you go about it if Tyson Fury retired?
Well, basically, we take every single case separately. Tyson Fury did his mandatory defense in February, so he has 1 full year until the next mandatory. Of course, he has to be active, and when he called for retirement, I spoke to him several times, and he said, you know, he's on a vacation, he just had a very complicated fight, and in fact, he never confirmed that he was going to retire. So I believe he will be fighting, he will be back in the ring. I am very proud of Tyson Fury. However, if he is to retire, we would completely support it. Whether he decides to retire or continue, we will support Tyson Fury. If he was to vacate the title, then the WBC would have the Board of Governors look into the scenario, what is happening in the top-ranked fighters, what is out there, what is their activity, and then make a decision whether to go with a direct fight for a title fight or do a tournament and fill the vacant championship.
Okay, the WBC has been at the forefront of a lot of innovative things recently with the franchise belt and also the Bridgerweight. Can you just tell the viewing audience about the franchise belt, and now who has a franchise? Is it just Canelo, or does Devin Haney have it?
You know, the boxing world is very traditional.
Right.
Our sport is so much for tradition, and any change gets a lot of resistance.
Right.
That's what we have experienced for such a long time. When my father changed from 15 to 12 rounds, oh my God, it was a very complicated process. He was criticized and he was booed in the arenas, but that has proven that it has saved a lot of lives. But to go into the franchise is a designation. The WBC recognizing the value of a few fighters that bring the industry and their division, their area, very important opportunities, the WBC can appoint a fighter as franchise whenever they submit a petition to be recognized as franchise. We started this process with Canelo Alvarez. He was the WBC middleweight champion. He made the petition to be franchise, and that allowed him to move up and fight super middleweight, light heavyweight, come back and move up and down until the time when he decided that he wanted to conquer the super middleweight and unify the whole division. So the franchise designation for him served very well for that purpose. Then Lomachenko was the next franchise designation. He petitioned, even being, he was a champion of another organization. He fought for the vacant title against Luke Campbell. And when he won the title, he petitioned to be franchised because he wanted to fight
Teofimo Lopez.
Teofimo Lopez for all the title. So the WBC took that step. We named Devin Haney, we moved him from interim to champion, and we moved Lomachenko to franchise. That allowed a great series of fights to take place. Haney, he fought Gamboa and fought Linares, high-profile fights, getting to that level of greatness. Ryan Garcia fought Luke Campbell, and we did a series of fights allowing that to happen. And Teofimo lost. I mean, he beat Lomachenko, and then he lost to Cambosos. Mm-hmm. Both Lopez and Cambosos, they both petitioned the WBC that if they won, they wanted to be the franchise. So at the end, Haney comes out and shooks the world and proves that that process was sensational, that put him out there, and he went to Australia and defeated Cambosos at home. So that was a great process that he proved. I understand the confusion that it may bring to fans and media, but we are all for the best fights to take place. And the franchise designation has allowed those fights to take place.
Now, Luther talked about the Bridger weight. Now, talk a little bit about the Bridger weight, but do you ever think that you see the WBC starting a super heavyweight division? Because all these guys are getting bigger and bigger.
Well, technically, it is what happened. In 1909, the heavyweight champion of the world weighed 168 pounds.
Wow.
Today's super middleweight.
Yeah.
In the 80s, the WBC, recognizing the growth of human beings, created the cruiserweight. That gave 175 light heavyweight to 190, the cruiserweight division, and then heavyweight began from 190 on. Eventually, recognizing the growth and the size of the heavyweights, the cruiserweight was moved from 190 to 200 pounds. We took several years evaluating, researching, looking at the statistics, and that's why the WBC decided to create a new weight category. Some people said, well, let's call it super cruiserweight, or let's call it super heavyweight. What we did, we simply, to avoid a confusion, we created a new division from 200 pounds to 224 pounds. And we named it Bridgerweight in honor of a kid who was, during the pandemic, a hero. A 6-year-old boy from Colorado, was attacked by a dog, attacked his sister, 4-year-old sister, and he saved the life of the sister. And this kid name is Bridger Walker. So at the time we created the division, this happened, so we took Bridger as a honor to that kid, and also it makes sense, it's a bridge between cruiser and heavyweight. It is a division that has gotten tremendous great fights. Every fight in Bridgerweight has been very, very good. There is a universe of fighters, a small heavyweights that can compete without giving too much advantage. To fight Fury, who weighs 270, 280 pounds, or Joshua, 260, 265, 255, it's a lot of weight difference. I am sure that the Bridger weight is going to bring great fights to boxing.
Good.
Speaking about the Bridger weight, Oscar Rivas, I guess, is the champion. And I've always heard Wilder talk about he wanted to unify heavyweight and was going to go down to cruiserweight. Has there been any talks to maybe try to talk Wilder into fighting Bridger as well? I know he's at heavyweight, but like I think a Wilder or a Canelo, as we talk about, would be huge for the Bridger weight. Has there been any discussion with Wilder about Bridger?
That's a natural weight for Wilder. That would be, he fought most of his heavyweight fights within that weight range. And of course, he has such a tremendous power. He still knocked out much bigger guys. The issue is the money is in the heavyweight.
Right.
That's why we did not want to change the name of a super heavyweight. Mm-hmm. We believe the name heavyweight should always remain intact. Okay. Because the heavyweight champion of the world is the most important person in the world of sports, period. And it has such a great drama to it that we did not want to touch the heavyweight. That's why we put another name to the new division. Usyk came from cruiserweight, and he has evolved into a strong heavyweight, but still gives a lot of size and weight advantage, but he's such a tremendous fighter. Of course, there are fighters that are smaller that can beat the big guys, but we're sure the Bridger weight is going to find a great activity to be just and fair to those fighters that are within that weight.
Mr. Sulaiman, two more things before we let you go, a comment and a question. Number one, you've talked about helping people. That's all you've done, you and your father, is helping former boxers, helping the current boxers. And that doesn't happen a lot, okay? And so number one, I appreciate that. And number two, again, this is Claudio, last question on my end. What do you think your father would say to you right now with all the work you've done? What would he say about you, the person and the businessman, what you've done with the WBC?
Thank you. You know, my father was born in a small town in the province of Mexico. His friends were fighters. He eventually became an amateur boxer. So he had all the experience in boxing, from being a boxer to being a ring announcer, referee, judge, assistant, go-to-do boy, everything he did in boxing. So he was always very concerned about the human being.
Right.
Boxers were treated like merchandise. They were abused in so many ways. And he always dreamed that if he ever became in a position of making changes, he would dedicate his life to make boxing better for the fighters. That's why all the changes happened. He suffered so much to see great champions from the past end their lives in poverty, in misery. And that happened very much, still happens. And he created a fund, for many years. It was a Friendly Hand Foundation, just helping out any case that would come to the WBC. But his dream of having a real formal fund became a reality in 2012 with the watches Hublot. They came up, they stepped up into the ring. We did a beautiful charity fundraiser. It raised $1 million. Then a few years later, we did another event with Hublot, which raised $1.2 million. And we have had other donations. At this time, we have already delivered in these 10 years about $2 million out to fighters in need. Not WBC champions, but anyone from the boxing community from any part of the world who contacts the WBC with a specific need. They go through a process. This fund is administered independently by the Nevada Community Foundation. We don't have the money. We raise the money, we put it in the fund. They analyze each petition, and it goes to a committee that accepts or rejects that petition. And we have been able to help and support so many fighters with food, with housing, with medical bills, with surgery, so many things that we try. We don't brag about it because we believe in the dignity of those fighters who have fallen in difficult times, but it's such a great opportunity to give back to those who went into the ring and were the heroes of their state, their country, the world,
Sure.
and they're at a difficult time. What I would expect is that my father would smile and would feel proud of me. That's why every day I dream that I do continue his legacy and that I continue his work of being there, being of service to the boxing world. And I have no other intentions other than being a part of the boxing community and be proud of what we do.
Very good. Luther has one final question.
One
for you.
final question, and I couldn't get out of here without asking because we get emails about it all the time. Terrence Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence. One, do you think it'll happen? And two, can we get Bud Crawford to be mandated, number one, so we can get that fight? But do you think it'll happen this year? The boxing fans, I think it would be huge for boxing if we could get that fight. Just what are your thoughts on that?
That is the fight we all want to see. I want to see it desperately. Crawford is a tremendous fighter. He was a WBC super lightweight champion, moved up to welterweight, and he has been WBO champion. Errol Spence is the WBC champion, IBF and WBA. Everybody would expect them to meet in the ring. And I've been led to believe that it's going to happen.
Yes.
The problem with mandating, we cannot mandate a champion of another organization.
Right.
A few years ago, we took that step. Kovalev asked the WBC to mandate the fight against Adonis Stevenson. We broke the paradigm. It was never done before. We did it at a convention, and then Kovalev pulled out of the fight. So it is very complicated. When you are a champion of another organization, you have commitments to that organization.
Okay.
And that is why it cannot be mandated. But I believe maybe we all four organizations decide and we mandated that it happens. I know you got me thinking. I'm going to think of something.
All right.
I will want to see.
All right. Mr. Sulaiman, we cannot tell you enough how honored we are to have you on our show.
Yes.
Really, it's a thrill. We respect you from afar. Now we get to tell you in person how much we respect you. Hopefully we do meet you in person someday. And again, your father, we always had admired him, and you are carrying on his name, his legacy, and the company in a fantastic fashion. So congratulations to you, continued success, and thank you so much. And it's our honor to be affiliated with WBC. And thank you for taking time to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. God bless, and congratulations, 100. And many more to come.
And we're having former WBC champion Donnie Lalonde on next, so we're keeping the theme going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, everyone, we're going to come back. We're going to have our special guest, Donnie the Golden Boy Lalonde, when we come back to the Boxing Authorities. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. Well, we have another very, very special guest, somebody who I love very much. He's been on our show before. I talk about him every single day to my wife, to my daughter, to everybody. And that is the former WBC light heavyweight champion of the world, Donnie the Golden Boy Lalonde. Donnie, thank you so much for taking time to be on our very special 100th episode show.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored. Thank you so much. Hey, Claudio, nice tie. Let me say something.
Thank you, brother. Ida got it for me. So I said, Ida, which one? She said, wear this one. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Donnie, first, before we go on too much, you have some good news to announce. You're training a fighter again. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, I was managing Malik Zanad since he was 1-0. And then kind of, you know, things evolve in boxing and relationships, and it ended up he wanted to manage himself for a while, and he did. He's done a great job. He's still undefeated, 20-0, 17 knockouts. And he's recently asked me to rejoin his team and manage him again, but I suggested I'll just advise him and he can manage himself. He's a very intelligent young man and doesn't really need a manager, but he could use some advice. So we're back working together. I'm very excited. He's got a show likely coming up September 25th in Manchester, and a fight, and he also has a fight November 5th in Johannesburg, South Africa.
What do you like about him in the ring? What makes him so special that you think he can make it all the way to the top?
Well, I'm telling you something, you guys. I have boxed Lennox Lewis. I boxed a guy named Shazan Bradley, 15-0, 15 knockouts, 245 pounds. I mean, I boxed some big men. This guy hits as hard or harder than anybody I've been in the ring with.
Wow.
He punches so hard. And, you know, I taught him how to punch. He was not a puncher when we got together. He was a great boxer. But he had this natural punching power he didn't know about. So I worked on it with him. That's the only thing I had. That's what I had mainly is punching power. I learned how to punch because I had a torn left shoulder and a destroyed right hand. So I had to punch very accurately. So I taught him how to execute his punch, how to patiently wait for it. And he's knocking everybody out that he fights, but he needs a little more refinement. That's why he's asked me to come back in. He needs a bit more experience, so we've got him some big fights lined up. And then he's ready to take on anybody, I promise.
All right, hey, Donnie, once again, thanks for coming on. Before I ask you a question, the picture in back of you, who is that? Who is that? Can you give us a little, who is that back there?
That's Ray Leonard sitting on his butt.
I just wanted you to say that.
Name.
Got your hands up
Steele,
and Ray sitting
making it
down.
count.
Oh, man, that's a great picture, man.
Very proud of the Boxing Hall of Fame, Indiana State Boxing Hall of Fame.
Great background. See, Claudio, that's where Claudio gets it. Every time he does a show from his house, he has all his Hall of Fame and pictures in back of him. I see where you get it, Claudio. Hey, Donnie, I want to ask you a question. We just had Mauricio on. The big fights aren't happening nowadays. Back in your time, we got all the big fights. What is happening? How can we get these big fights going, Donnie? I mean, I think it's hurting the sport if we don't get Bud Spence and all these big fights.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously it's greed and politics, as it's always been and is in many businesses.
Right.
You know, if I have a guy who I think is great, but he might lose to your guy, maybe I don't have him fight your guy. And it's really, like you say, hurting the sport. What's it going to take to get it back? I guess the fans demanding it. I mean, imagine it's always supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
And we've got the fights out there. Now we need to demand them.
Exactly.
What do you like about your day in boxing as opposed to what's going on today? That, the lack of big fights happening, what else? How about the training?
Okay, the unique differences, you just hit it, is in my day, we still were learning a bit from the old school guys, the finesse of the game. And I don't see it as much today. Today it's more about big muscles and trying to outpunch a guy or something, or you know, trying to be more cute than the other guy. Like Ray Leonard was an incredible finesse fighter. Many guys of our era, I mean, I could not have fought if I didn't have finesse. I didn't have the body, I didn't have the resilience. Right. So I had to find my way around a ring and learn how to get around a ring. And I like the finesse of boxing. I like the art of the sport.
Well, I remember one time you said the MMA, they just kind of, we all respect them once you get in that ring. You said they club each other, and you're right. Boxing is skilled. It's chess. It's hitting and not getting hit. And I always remember you saying that.
That's what I think is, I mean, it's not like it's not out there, but it's not out there like it was. You know, like, I mean, a guy like Tyson Fury, all he has is finesse. I mean, he has no boxing fundamentals, but he's amazing to watch because he has such a high boxing IQ. You know, he can stand right in front of you and you can't hit him. And he's going to hit you, and he throws his punches like, I mean, he telegraphs it. I mean, he does everything wrong. You know, it's entertaining, I find. You know, he's a little, Henry has fun. He sets you up, he throws the most awkward, crazy punches, and he lands it. You know,
Right. You talk about training. one of the things that I used to love when we see videos, we would see Muhammad Ali or these guys running, doing road work. Nowadays, it seems like a lot of trainers have gotten away from it. You know, you may get on a treadmill, but you don't actually do the road work. I've heard so many boxers say they're not doing road work anymore. I mean, I thought that was a staple. That was one of my favorite things that I thought separated boxers from other athletes, to see them out there doing that road work.
I agree 100%. And road work was my Bible. I mean, without road work, I was not a fighter. With road work, you can fight all night. Without it, or if you do too much, you can hurt yourself.
Right.
Which I've done also. You know, but it's an essential part of training, and I swear by it. And so I agree with you 100%, 100%.
Donnie, there was a guy you fought, and I forgot his name. It's the guy that you were really busting his chops before the fight in the ring. It was in his hometown, and you were shaking around, and you looked so relaxed. What was that guy's name?
Carlos, the force tight.
Yes, right. And he was good. But, I mean, again, baseball, you can hot dog or do whatever. You're not getting punched. You know, but in boxing, you weren't nervous or anything. You seemed so relaxed. Tell us a little bit about that great fight and moment for you.
Well, you know, I read the book, The Greatest, by Muhammad Ali, and Gorgeous George told Ali, if you ever get a chance in front of media, you've got to do something that they'll never forget every time, you know. And that was my first shot on ESPN. I begged him for a long time to give me a shot against Carlos Titan. He goes, why would we give you a shot at Carlos? I said, I'm the Canadian champion. He goes, you better bring a quarter with 25 cents with you to a coffee shop. I'm not going to give you coffee with that for that belt. And he goes, why would we want you to beat Carlos? And I said, because I'm better than him. And he goes, but he sells out arenas. I know, but I'm better than him. Who cares? You know, he makes us money. So I begged for that fight. And finally, I got the fight because they caught him doing something inappropriate or whatever to the gate or whatever. And so they said, we're going to give somebody a shot to beat him. Do you want it? So I said, of course. And I thought that was my moment, you know. So it was pouring rain. We're in Chicago while I remember the name of the town, Maryville, Indiana, maybe it was.
Oh, yeah.
Right by Chicago, a suburb, basically. And I had to go to the airport to get my white tuxedo to really put on a big show at the press conference. And it was pouring rain. And I had to I was driving on the sidewalks, on the side of the road, the lane that you're not supposed to drive when I was driving like a maniac. Then I had to change while I was driving to get there because I knew when I got there I was going to be late. And I got in, I had my hair dyed blonde. That was the first time. And I go in with a white tuxedo, and I'm like, this guy's a farce. You call him a forest, he's a farce. I'm going to have fun for one. He'll be through in two, blah, blah, blah. I did the whole Ali thing. And I don't know. It was just, Claudio, one of those things where you had nothing to lose. You know, I was like a Canadian kid getting a shot on ESPN against a big star of ESPN. And I had my shot, and I had to take it. So I just went for it. And I had nothing to lose. I just went for it.
Yep.
Wow. Hey, Donnie, another thing that I loved in your era, I think the referees let you guys go a little longer. We saw this weekend a guy I follow, Gary Antoine Russell. I thought the fight was stopped a little earlier. What do you think about the refereeing nowadays? Do you think they're not giving these fighters enough of a chance? Or, because back in your day, guys, they really had to show that they couldn't fight anymore. Now, it seems like they're getting stopped way too soon, in my opinion. What do the older boxers say?
I've got to say, you know, that's a fine line, right? You don't want to see guys get hurt either.
Yeah.
When I fought Eddie Davis, if you watch that fight, I was so wishing the ref would stop the fight.
I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, I almost had to kill the guy. And he didn't move for a long time. His body was twitching. His hands were up while he was lying there. Ray Leonard, in the middle of the 8th round, if you watch 8th or 9th round, I was hitting him from pillar to post. I had a mouth guard on, but I said to the ref, what do you want me to do? Kill this old man and stop this fight? You know, yeah. So you can think it should be stopped earlier than it should be, but then you can let it go too long also, you know, and then somebody gets hurt. So it's really a judgment call at a very critical time. It's not always easy. I mean, I thought judging was the easiest thing in the world. I'm like, how could you not see what I see?
Right.
And I was given an opportunity to judge in Europe when I was living there a few years ago. I had the wrong guy's name written down in the wrong corner. I wrote down the score for the wrong guy. And then after the fight, the ref was like, the supervisor was like, Donnie, which fight were you watching? I go, oh my God. Both these guys' names, I couldn't pronounce. Their names were like that long. They're European, I was like, I didn't know either one. I didn't know. I mean, I totally screwed up, I mean, it didn't go to the distance. But I really learned that it's not that easy because the judge only has 1/3 of the view, 1/4
Right.
of perspective, and it's from a lower area. You're looking up. You really don't see the whole fight. You see way more on TV. And it's the same with the referee. It's really easy to sit back and go, oh, geez, he should have done this. And sometimes you're 100% right. Like, for instance, there's many examples. I almost said the Melcher Taylor Chavez fight.
Yeah, that was a bad stoppage.
Again, but I mean, was it though? If he got hit one more time, maybe he's dead. I mean, you know what I mean? It's so hard. There's only 3 seconds left.
Right.
But it's a critical moment of somebody's life,
Right.
I worked the corner of a friend in the Montreal Forum one time. And I was in the corner, and he had told me, Donnie, I would rather die than lose this fight by knockout. You know that. I want to go out on my shield or by throwing in the towel. And I said, I know, don't worry. I'm not going to throw in the towel. And my other fellow cornerman is a boxing guy. I won't say his name. But he had the towel and he was going to throw it in. And I grabbed it from him. I said, don't you do that. He goes, he's going to get hurt. If you don't stop this fight and he gets hurt, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker. And I just said, he begged me not to throw in the towel,
Oh, God.
It's a critical decision.
Yeah.
He didn't get hurt, but after the fight, I was with him. He threw up all night.
Oh,
He was
man.
sick. He had concussions, So it's really a difficult thing, You let somebody go out on their shield, or do you protect them? And there's sometimes you just don't know. And referees make mistakes. What can you say? I mean, they definitely do,
Well, Donnie, I wanted you on for this 100th episode because it's a special episode for us, and you're a special man. I love you to death, and you mean the world to me professionally, personally, and everything. And we really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you for everything, and thank you for being in my life, brother.
I enjoyed it very much. Great to meet both of y'all. We've met before, Luther, and you guys, congratulations on your 100th, and let's go for 100 more.
You got
Yes,
it.
thanks, Donnie.
All right, love you, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Here, champions.
All right, brother.
Golden boy.
Yes, sir. Okay, when we come back, we have another very special guest, John Jackman of Vive Television Network. Right back with the Boxing Authorities. Hello and welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. We have another special guest on, the director of Vive Television Network, who gave us our break, and that is Mr. John Jackman. John, thank you so much for appearing on our 100th show. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. So congratulations on your 100th episode. I mean, we couldn't have, we couldn't have done this without you guys and your support. So really, really appreciate it.
Well, we're very honored. Like I said, you guys gave us a break of a lifetime, and you and Danielle, and you guys are the best, and we appreciate it. But first, paint a picture for our audience, a little bit more about Vive Television Network.
Well, I think we've got a big job to do, right? I mean, we think that there's a lot of opportunity in boxing, and we are just about. We just announced a tournament that is hopefully a global tournament. It's starting in San Antonio. We partnered with Jesse James Leija, two-time world champion, and he's our promoter in Texas. And so we're pretty excited. We're all about keeping boxing free,
Right.
as you guys know. And so I think the idea is to showcase boxing from all over the world. Get fights on TV that nobody ever gets to see.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where do you see Vive Television going in the next, couple years? I know you said you have some fights coming up, but where do you see maybe in a couple years down the road?
That's a tough question, but I think I think the answer to that is being in a position where Vive is basically distributing boxing from all over the world to distribution partners all over the world, and getting it seen, right, and giving up and comers a chance to be on television, and not only get the have the big fights on TV, but see guys from when they're starting all the way up to winning their first belt.
Years ago, they used to say that the big sports outside of baseball was horse racing and boxing. And I got to be honest with you, John, every time I tune in a boxing match, the places are packed. Okay, you get a pay-per-view, and they're charging a lot of money for these events, and people are buying them. So I still think boxing is extremely healthy and extremely popular. What do you say to that?
I think you're right. I think the biggest issue with boxing is that we've done a lot of research, and boxing is really the most expensive sport for a fan, right? And then you add the fact that yes, they've got a pay-per-view and they can buy it, but they also have to pay for their cable subscription.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you add the fact that not all the fights are on the same cable that they've got. They've got to have multiple cable subscriptions on top of paying for pay-per-view. It just gets really expensive. It's the most expensive sport for a fan to watch.
Right. And I think, boxing's such a great sport. It's, I tell people, if you're anywhere and you see two guys, everybody stops and looks. Boxing is just, everybody loves it. What brought you into the sport of boxing, and what really, gave you the idea to keep following? What was your first memory with boxing to get you into this business?
Oh my God, my first memory of boxing is, watching, listening to the radio with my dad, listening to Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay and Joe Frazier fight, that's my first memory of boxing, and I think that's where I fell in love with the sport, and then all the way through HBO, and we used to have HBO parties, boxing parties, when for example Oscar was fighting, and I love the sport.
We say this all the time on the show that, years ago you mentioned Ali. When Ali and Frazier, they were on the ABC Sports, they interviewed, and these guys would go on the Carson show, and they promoted themselves. Now with social media and all that, and real quick, each network had their guy. Ali, obviously ABC, Tyson Sugar Ray, ABC, Vinny Paz was on NBC, Bruno Mancini, CBS. But we knew their stories. We knew Donnie Lalonde, CBS. We knew their stories.
Exactly.
The back page, that this one wanted to win the title for his dad. This Donnie was abused and wanted to live a better life and be somebody. We don't see that anymore. And these guys have stories. Do you agree that maybe their promoters or managers should promote the person, then people be attracted to the fighter?
Well, you know what? That's a great point. As a matter of fact, one of the things we're going to be doing and focusing on is giving people the backstories on these guys, so people can get to know them. Because you're right. I mean, a lot of these guys are really colorful, and they've had colorful lives, and a lot of times come from great hardship and overcome huge obstacles, and I mean, they're really interesting stories, and so we plan to to make that available for people, so that the people can get to know them and their families, where they come from, but I think you're right. That's a really good point, and you don't see that anymore.
And I think one thing that all of us have in common is we've all had to overcome adversity, and these guys have had to overcome adversity personally and to make it in the ring. And I think their stories are important. They have impact. They can have impact on people. And I think a station or network like Vive telling those stories, painting those pictures, I think would be a great outlet for them.
Oh, I think you're right. And again, I, to your point, having the audience connect with these people, getting to know them,
right.
Seeing them at home with their family, I think that's just so important, because again, whatever sport you're watching, it's all about people, and people like to know and watch people, right? I mean, and get to know them.
Right.
And so, you're absolutely right.
Luth?
One thing that I like on Vive, I remember even just as something as simple as getting the hands wrapped. I think you all did a great job of just letting the viewer get into the sport.
Point, right.
Just even just the hand wrap, because as fans, a lot of people don't see that aspect of boxing. What goes into it. And I think that was a great thing that you are doing. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, now some of the fights that you have, now this fight you have, who are some of the fighters that are going to be on there?
We're actually signing the fighters up now.
Oh, okay.
I know, and Jesse James Leha, who's our promoter down there, he's working really hard trying to put this all together. So I don't have any names as of yet, but we will in the next week or so.
Okay.
John, you know what? We're so honored to be a part of Vive Television Network. Danielle, we talk all the time. She's the best. We appreciate her. We appreciate you. And again, it's an honor. And again, I'll use the word appreciate. You gave us a huge opportunity, and we will be forever grateful to that. And hopefully we do the channel justice, and we can continue for another 100, 200, 300 shows. And again, we really appreciate you guys more than we can tell you.
No, listen, I think it goes both ways. We really appreciate what you guys do. I watch your shows all the time, and I know a lot of people that do. They really enjoy it, and I think we're getting ready to do some really cool stuff, and that even includes you guys as part of the tournament, so I think stay tuned, because I think you're going to see a lot of really good things coming from Vive Network.
We're ready, that's for sure. So we appreciate everything. Thank you for being on this very special 100th episode, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Joy.
Hey, listen, thank you, and congratulations, you guys, again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, everyone, we're going to take one final break, and we're going to come back and kind of wrap things up with our 100th episode. Right back with the Boxing Authorities. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. We have a little special thing here. My lovely wife, Linda, is coming in with something. Hopefully she doesn't fall. But a little cake for our 100th episode, and we're sharing this with you, our audience. But again, Smoking Jim, Luther, let me start with you, Jim. I would not be doing TV if he didn't introduce me to this and start me off, and Luther allowing me to do this years ago. I want to say 2005 was my first appearance with you guys.
So, yeah.
And we've been doing this show now, again, 1 year and our 100th episode. And you know what? Again, I couldn't ask for two better, not partners, not friends, but family members. These guys, every time I leave them, I feel better. I enjoy doing the show, but they're two wonderful people, and I love them to death, and I appreciate them very much. And we have a ton of fun on this show. Ton of fun. We should do it behind the scenes one of these days, maybe. But Luther and Jim, I thank you for the opportunity that you guys gave me. And again, I always say it, you guys are the best. And I mean that with all my heart. So thank you both very much.
Claudia, you know we love you.
All right, brother.
You're the best, man. Hardest working man. A made man. I've never met a made man in my life. Now I finally got a brother who's a made man. I love it. Now you're the best, Claudio.
I appreciate it. Mr. Frazier? That's it. They're going to build a statue of him one of these days, even smaller than Wilder's. Even smaller than Wilder's. Real quick, what are some of the highlights of the year, some things that stick out to you?
Well, in terms of boxing, Charlo Castano, I don't think that fight. I don't think that fight gets enough credit. You had two guys laying it all on the line. Castano couldn't keep up. Charlo ended up getting him. But that's what boxing about. Guys going for undisputed, putting it all out there. That was amazing. And, of course, Devin Haney going to Australia. Everybody's against him. His dad can't go. You know, his main trainer can't go, and he goes over there, becomes undisputed, and brings it back to the USA. Those two things stand out to me. Amazing.
For me, it's the rise of the women's division, getting so much attention, selling out Madison Square Garden, main event. The Fury Wilder fights and the heart that they showed. It was like a TV show, getting knocked down, getting back up, and still throwing punches even half out of it. You got to respect those two guys. And the one guy that just sticks out.
Jake Paul.
No. The maturity level, not just physically, but mentally. and how focused he was. And that's Devin Haney. How great he was in the ring. He just impressed the hell out of me, what he did. We kept saying he's going to have to knock this guy out. He's got so much against him. Unbelievable job. That kid has a chance to be a major star in the game.
Yes, he does.
But which will help the game itself. Smoking Jim.
The thing that stands out the most for me is right after this, we're going to go to the concert to see the Dupree 5. Luther got his, he got his jacket on.
It looks good. And Jim is going to be working for Hallmark now because he has such great things to say about you.
Right. Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Comedy Central over there.
Well, you know what? We always finish with saying what? We hope you enjoy our show as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. Here's another 100, and we really, really appreciate the comments, the emails, the fan mail that you guys send us.
Keep
and
'em
like you
coming.
heard John say, we're going to keep doing bigger and better things. And, I watched our first few episodes, and they were good, but we're getting better all the time.
Every time.
And we appreciate you. Thank you so much, and here's to another 100. Talk to you soon.